not aware of that.
Call the meeting, regular meeting of the Board of Directors of the 29th Province Water District together. September 25th at 4 o'clock. This meeting may be viewed on the district's website. The board reserves the right to discuss only or take action on any item on the agenda. Please make sure all your cell phones are silent so Bob back there in the room doesn't have a conniption fit. And Cindy, can I call to order and roll call, please?
Director Arthur?
Present.
Director Coghill?
Here.
Director Giannini is absent. Director Leeser?
Here.
Director Woods?
Here.
Cindy Bart, could you let us in a pledge of allegiance, please? We haven't seen you in a while. That's big time.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
There are none.
Okay. Public comments? No, there is none. Agenda item number 1. Review and accept proposal for Springbrook service orders and Noble GeoViewers customer service work order modal integration. John Mander?
Good afternoon, members of the board. A little over a year ago, the slogan "Efficiencies through Technologies" has really come to fruition here at the district. The district staff is using Noble GSI system every day throughout the employees' trucks and employees' desktops. There are even a few examples that Noble is using 29 Palms as the poster for GIS, bringing in some new technologies for collecting data points in our system. The proposal before you today would allow Noble Systems the ability to move forward with creating the integration between Springbrook, which is our billing system, and their Noble GeoViewer for communication. The 3-year proposal includes the first year fees of $19,800 and then 3 years of annual fees for $20,000. It's open for discussion, but district staff is making the recommendation to accept Noble's 3-year proposal for the integration tool between Springbrook and GeoViewer. If there's any questions, and open for discussion.
Director Woods, comments, criticisms?
No.
Director Arthur?
Nothing.
Dr. Lee?
We get discounts for being the poster child?
Well, I can explain the poster child. They, instead of buying all this GIS equipment to shoot in for $50,000, we did some research on subscribing to data shots, and now Noble is using our recommendations. They said, how are you guys collecting shots? We're kind of the poster that we did the research, and we're using our equipment that isn't what wasn't $30,000, $50,000, and then as soon as we're done shooting shots, the subscription can be written off where you're done with it. So Noble's now kind of using that in their process. If anything, I hope that's where we maybe get a little kicker.
I hope so.
But at this time, no.
We're helping them improve their product.
Yeah, we're definitely doing some things with our GIS that he's really impressed.
Awesome. I got no other questions.
Thank you. My question is, how long is it going to take to integrate the system together and make it work?
Well,
Give it a projection date?
Yeah, so I was thinking that you guys would ask, is somebody already doing it? And they do already have the integration with Springbrook and other clients. So I think the integration is going to be smooth, except for the fact that we get to explain to them what we want to see.
Right.
So taking the data out in the field, the guys now not closing work orders, but getting them to a completion point, with the ladies then going through and making sure everything's in the billing system to kind of approve the closure. Noble's going to come in and do some exercises with our group and explain and understand what we want to see out of the program. So they will tweak it to our likings compared to High Desert, which also has Springbrook and is already doing the integration. So this is the next step of GIS with Noble.
So, sorry, Bob.
No, please go ahead.
Should we move over to another system in the years down the road? Are we going to require any mapping and indexing of the data sets so that our data ports over into the next generation if we end up with something else later?
That's a great question. A question that I can bring back with Noble. We're in a 3-year contract right now with GIS into the 2nd year, and this will put us into a 3rd year with them, 3 years with the integration. If we're not happy with them, I would hate to say that it couldn't turn over, but that's a good
Yeah,
question.
I just want to make sure that we retain
Yeah.
our data and we don't lose that. If something should happen, like a falling out between us and them later for service reasons, that our data will port into whatever we end up with later.
Good point.
So,
Good point. Well, since we're gonna spend money, we're gonna need a motion and a second.
I move to accept the proposal for Springbrook Service Orders and Noble Geo Viewers Customer Service Work Order Monitor Integration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Cindy, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Director Arthur?
Aye.
Director Coghill?
Yes.
Director Leeser?
yes,
Director Woods?
Yes.
And Director Giannini is absent.
Okay, item number 2 on the agenda, extend engineering service for redundant reservoir and booster station at the treatment plant with Engineered Solutions Group Incorporated, ESG Engineering. John
So-
Hudson?
So the redundant reservoir project, we did go out to an RFP, which ESG did help, Engineering Solutions Group. And that was about a year ago that we got into a contract with them. They have stuck along the project through our request, and we have not used up the full $20,000 on the original contract with ESG. Today before you, Michael Thomas and the staff at ESG are continuing to put more and more on their plates, including the next stage of the project, which is 60, 90, 100% of the review plans. And they will also be there for pre-bid construction, meetings with contractors. So today before you is kind of a scope change, adding services to their request with an additional budget request of $29,000 for the next year. The additional 29 will come from the capital improvement plan for the redundant booster station and reservoir, which currently has $275,000 in for the budget. If you look in our budget, there's actually about $400,000, but the bills are starting to roll in for these engineering services through Webb and ESG. So it's up for open discussion, but staff is looking for a recommendation to accept the scope change, the added services from Engineering Solutions Group in the amount of $29,000. And if there's any questions, but open for discussion.
Director Woods?
None.
Director Arthur?
Nothing.
Director Leeser?
nothing.
This also is gonna cost us money, so Cindy, can I have a roll call vote?
Need a motion to,
I do move-
Sorry, I got
I
ahead of
move to
myself.
extend the engineering service for redundant reservoir and booster station at treatment plant with Engineered Solutions Group.
Second.
Moved and seconded, sorry for getting ahead of myself. Cindy, now can we have a roll call vote?
Director Arthur?
Aye.
Director Coghill?
Yes?
Director Leeser?
aye,
Director Woods?
Yes.
And Director Giannini is absent.
Okay. I didn't ask Cindy Byram, I didn't see her hand go up, so I'm assuming we're okay. Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda, item 3 is discussion of retiree benefits, specifically sick time. General Manager?
Tonight before you is the discussion of our retirees' benefits. The current employee handbook states, resignation, termination, or discontinuance of employment from the district for any reason shall result in a loss of accrued sick time. However, when an employee retires from the district, credit of .04 per every 8 hours of unused sick time will be provided under the CalPERS agreement. Up for discussion tonight is just if there was interest from the board in allowing there to be a second portion of that CalPERS agreement, which would also allow the retired employees to cash that last portion out on their retirement. So instead of letting it roll into that calculation of every 8 hours of the .004, allowing them to do a straight cash out. And one of the reasons why the timing of this discussion has come up is the district is looking to do an update on their district's employee manual. So tonight, really, we're just looking for direction, policy direction, and or leave the policy as written. So leaving it for open discussion with questions, and if you guys have any questions.
Yeah, I would have a lot of questions. It's an interesting topic. So what do you think the overall opinion is from your employees on that, and what is your recommendation, and what are the pros and cons of that? Because I'm only seeing pros, so tell me the cons.
Okay. Our employees, first of all, have officially emailed me, 1 or 2 specifically ready for retirement. We have recently as an employee retires, if we still need them for retention, we have done where we retention the employee back as retired annuitants. And so us having to get rid of their sick time, I had an employee approach me and say, hey, listen, I'm going to retire and our mechanic is looking to retire. And they already get every other Friday off. And he said, hey, I can take every Monday off too until I retire, or can you guys pay me out at the end? So for me, it was brought to my attention through the employees. I have approached union members and including their representatives from LA. They said this is a bonus for them. This isn't like a negative. Currently, right now, the district already cashes down in December 240 hours. So technically, depending on after your December cash out, you having any extra on the books could be very minimal, depending on obviously where you retire. We get 9 hours a month, so 108 for the year is what you would get if you went a full year again. So just a recent employee that retired of 35 years that didn't do a cash out waited 3 months for his first CalPERS retirement check and said, man, that extra money would have really helped. So just taking some consideration from the employees. I've always wanted to look into this topic, and especially with us doing a district employee manual change. Some negatives, obviously, is our cash out time is going to go up, so we budget for that. So you got to also remember it's only going to be the employees that are going to retire. So you guys could have open discussion of like making it a year's requirement. Hey, we want to see somebody here for X amount of years. So there's probably more perks to the employees, and there's the district paying out a little bit more to get the employees there. The few recently that have been here 30 years that were forced to kind of put that into a CalPERS calculation, because some of them didn't take every Monday off. They worked their way through and just went the calculation route. And then it's really not enough time unless you hold your sick time on the books for as long as you want and try to make a half year or a full year out of it. So I would say there's more benefit for the employees here. It's something that if I'm doing the upgrade of the manual, I just wanted to bring to everybody's attention to have that open discussion.
What would be like the maximum fiscal impact to the water district? Say you had 2 employees retire, you know what I mean? What, and you're saying you have X number of hours that could possibly be left on the books because of the cash out each year. What would be the fiscal impact?
So it really depends on their formula, and it depends on who it is, right? So most employees in December will cash down to 40. I mean, the truth of the matter is they usually do go down to 40. There are some employees that have 200-300 sick vacation time on the book. So if those employees for the next 20 years don't use their 108 hours that we accumulate a year, there could be a huge impact depending on what employee it is, right? What rate their pay is. But at this time, I also did speak with Financial Cindy Byram just to hey, run this by us. Do other districts do this? Is there 2 other solutions, like the CalPERS and the cash out? And do you see this a lot, or is this something that we're going to be setting precedents and we don't want to do? So she's also here to speak on that if you guys have questions there. But the impact really does depend on how many of your employees are holding that sick time back. And remember, we've got a younger staff here now that are PEPRA members that will be working here till 62. So I would say at the current situation, this is probably in the next 10 years, maybe going to affect 6 to 7 employees if they stay here and retire here. But again, some of that verbiage could be decided, how would we want to see it? After 30 years, you're allowed to do this. So it was just for an open discussion to see how you guys felt.
I would like to hear.
So just to give you some numbers, let's say in 1 year, 2 employees retire. And you said it's down to 240, correct? Do they can cash out down to 240?
No, that's vacation. They can,
Yes, huh?
every year in December,
40.
they can cash down to 40.
40, okay. So let's say they do cash out and they just have the 40. That's like $3,000 for the 2 employees. It's really not a big impact at all.
So let's say they go
But let's
half
say
a
they-
year to, instead of 108, they get the 54 hours. So both employees would get the 40 plus the 54. That's going to double to, what, about $7,000 maybe
Yep.
for those 2 employees?
About $7,000 or $8,000. It is common. A lot of my agencies do a hybrid of Some of them do half of your rate of pay times all your sick leave on the books. Some do full sick leave payout. Some do nothing. But it's fairly common.
And what is the policy currently involving the difference between your sick leave and your vacation leave? And there's no mandatory cash out for vacation leave?
Vacation leave, you can hold up to, Cindy,
Or
that-
it just changed.
it just
to
changed. You can hold up to
4.
420 on the books. So at the end of the year, in December, if you are an employee that has accrued 420 hours, and that can be from the last 5 years, you finally got, if you go over 420, you've got to cash down to 420 come December, come January 1. So you can keep 420 vacation on the books as at the beginning of the new year. Sick time, you can accrue as much. There's no mandatory cash out.
Because sick time
Is your
is akin to real property. So I was kind of asking the impact. So we're only talking about a sick leave, we're not talking about
Not talking about the vacation.
the vacation.
It's either .004 per 8 hours, but you want to put the option in here where they can cash it out straight to cash. Okay.
But you're also looking for language that you had to have been here for a certain amount of time.
Well, it says for
Is that-
retiree. It doesn't say,
Well,
we're not changing the you resign, terminate, or whatever. You're getting nothing. We're just talking retirees.
Retiree, and the years could depend on the board saying, hey, 30 years, or hey, no, they retired here from this district. So retiring for a PEPRA member, no, classic member, would be 55 and above, right? 55, you retire at 55, you can pull your retirement. And actually, I think you can do it early at 50 with 2%. PEPRA members are 62 is their retirement, the newer members. So, and their formulas are different both ways. Classic is different than, for me, I see it as one of those things, and again, this has nothing to do with the memorandum of understanding with the union. This has to do with our employee handbook and definitely giving the district's employees another benefit in there as we change the employee.
Cashing out the vacation time is already built into the employee's manual. So this is just another layer of that.
Okay, so the unused sick leave is what we're talking about.
Correct.
And an employee can carry an unlimited amount of sick leave up into retirement? And I'm going to guess that it all converts to this 004 in retirement calculations? And anything left over that's not a year is what we're talking about? That's what's getting cashed out?
No, anything that you have left on the books, you either do the calculation
Yeah.
or you can do the straight cash out.
Okay,
And
so
again, that's just a discussion. This is open discussion. If you guys don't want to see the language, that's
So-
okay too.
what do we typically see for a retiree on the way out for total amount of sick leave?
I think.
Are we talking thousands of hours?
We don't
Over a
have
career?
employees that carry thousands of hours on sick time. Our most recent 33-year employee out in the field, I think he carried over maybe 80 hours
Okay.
at the end of his time.
All right.
So it was the 40 that he cashed down to in December.
Okay.
And then he might have gained another 40 and put it into the calculation. So let's say it was 80. He's looking at a .04 of
Okay.
that cal per year.
Okay, so we're not talking a large amount of hours. Like I have over 2,300 hours of sick leave,
Right.
just so you know.
Yeah.
You're-
Personally.
You're going to add your time.
So, yeah.
Well, it's- yes,
I do
and
the
like
same thing.
in public service or like education, the sick time is your time.
Yeah.
And you could have a whole year
Mm-hmm.
of, that you put onto your retirement in sick time.
Mm-hmm.
So I would want to discuss the direction where it would give maximum benefit to the employee. If it doesn't, if the fiscal impact to the
Yeah, it
district is
doesn't-
not overwhelming.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like we were talking a lot of hours on, it doesn't, yeah.
The key word is retiree.
I don't think it's that big of impact personally.
I lean in favor of giving the employees more options because when life happens, you know, we can try to think of situations, but we don't know what they'll be. But I actually think we should probably even consider it being for allowing employees in the future to be able to sell that back along with vacation time. Primarily because every year, our salaries are gonna go up. So if they were to sell that now, instead of accruing it, that's cheaper to the district than in 10 years, building up a lot of it and then selling it back. So I think that should be something that we should consider as well in the future.
Like, do you mean kind of like a mandatory buyback at a certain point?
Just allow them that if at the end of the year, if I want to sell back some of my sick time because I need some money.
We can do that now. So currently,
sick time?
yes, so
Okay.
currently in December, you can every year.
They cash
go down
down.
to 40 hours.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cash out the
So,
And there's no policy that you have that requires your employees to give a schedule of vacation to ensure that they're utilizing vacation. The reason I ask is because vacation is given for a reason. You're supposed to take vacation.
yeah.
It's
There
not,
is.
so I'm just asking.
Yeah, so you want to speak, Cindy?
Well, sorry.
No, you
I do the accrual,
Yeah,
so.
She does the accruals.
Go ahead, please.
Yes, they have to use at least, well, it was 32, but I think it changed with the new
9, so it's
36.
36. Yeah.
36 hours a year. They have to use
Okay.
36 hours of vacation.
And do they, again, just a question, do they schedule that with you and say, hey, this is when I want to take that, so you know who's going to be gone and when, and it doesn't overlap? Or do they just come in on a Monday and say, I'm not going to be here Wednesday through Friday?
You
They
have
schedule
to,
it
you
with
have to have it approved.
Schedule in
One,
advance.
because the departments aren't big enough to handle
Absorb.
3 or 4 people off
Yep.
at the same time.
Okay.
So any vacation time has to be, now personal and sick are different, but vacation time has to be approved 24 hours prior to the shift being over. So you are going to take Monday off and you didn't communicate that on Friday, on Saturday and Sunday, you can't call a supervisor to get that vacation day. You can take personal or sick, but you can't take vacation. And we've also told supervisors, like, listen, if we're short-staffed, you also have to be able to refuse,
Revoke a vacation?
Yeah, because we have to have staff here working. So,
Okay.
yeah, we do have that as well.
I understand the system, okay. So what do you need from us? You need,
Just direction. Would you guys be
I
okay
think
with?
I'm in favor of that verbiage. Mike, are you in favor of that verbiage?
I'm in favor of.
Are you guys wanting to see anything in there that requires so many years here? I mean, I don't think that
No,
should be a requirement, but again, I think
we're
that's
not
up to the
talking
board of
about
directors.
Because you're talking.
The quitters,
Yeah.
we're talking about retirees.
No,
As long-
the verbiage about resignation, termination, and discontinuance of employment.
That's just the
That's
language.
going to stay on.
Yep.
That's still going to be
Perfect.
there.
We just talking one option for retirees. I'm for it.
Yeah, me too.
Okay.
Bob?
As long as it is deemed for retirees,
It is?
Yeah.
then I'm for it.
So
How-
where we would see that change, just to give you guys heads up, is we're working on an employee manual change because of the hours and stuff that we did with the MOU. That's where we'll see that change, and we'll make sure we bring that up at a board meeting, because you guys will approve the new employee manual as well.
Is it addressed in the labor agreement, or does it have to
It
be?
is,
Okay.
except for the second line about the .004.
Yeah.
So the union is aware that I'm bringing this to your guys' attention for a side letter, not opening up a contract, a side letter saying in the
For retirees.
employees manual, the employees will have a second option, and the union representation has pretty
Yep.
much told me that
It's an amendment to the MOU.
it's nothing adding to the MOU.
As long as it says retirees.
Correct. Retirees.
Sounds like a plan.
Any other comments or questions? Good discussion. And Cindy, thank you for your input. Item number 4 is the consent calendar. Matters about the consent calendar to be considered routine and will be enacted on in a single motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless the board, staff, or public request specific items to be removed for separate discussion and action before the board votes on the motion to adopt. Do we have any motion for the consent?
Motion to adopt.
Seconded.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So ordered. Item number 5 is a moot point since we're now on. Management reports. 6-1, maintenance.
Good evening, Board of Directors. The Operation and Maintenance Department performed the following tasks during the month of August. Responded to 72 USAs, 4 leak audits, painted 44 hydrants, had 40 shutoffs, 829 total completed work orders, exercised 130 valves. There were 1,200 and 15 past due bills totaled $7,559.96 in penalty fees. And we had 0 mainline leaks. And would you like me to move on to Mr. Shelton's?
Yes, please. Oh, well, are there any questions?
Yeah, are there any
Of
questions?
Superintendent Minitree?
How come these are never 3-hole punched? Buy them a 3-hole puncher, Matt.
This one comes straight from Supervisor Minitree to the board. It bypasses the
Buy Mike
district
a 3-hole
secretary.
punch.
Is that right? To bypass the district secretary? Okay. And yes, would you do,
Water quality, bacteria samples. A total of 40 routine bacteria samples were collected at test points for the storage and distribution system during this past month. All routine and special samples indicated absent for call alert. Water production report, the district produced 246 acre feet, which is a 15% decrease compared to the same month in 2013, and it's up 2.7% increase from the same month in 2023. And if the board has any questions, I'd be glad to answer any.
Director Woods, questions? Director Martin? Director Laser?
None. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Can't see through the 3-hole punch.
3-hole punch. Oh, beautiful. Okay, and from finance, Ms. Cindy,
Good evening.
good evening.
Before you is the results of fiscal year '24. Keep in mind, we have not finished completely preparing for the audit. So for example, we haven't recorded the estimate for bad debt expense, but really what we're trying to do is we did most of the audit to show you kind of the cash basis, how well the district did. Total revenues ended the year $7.5 million. We budgeted $6.6 million. So it's $900,000 greater, primarily due to water volumetric sales that were at 105%, so they were higher than projected. Your capital impact fees, we always estimate and budget pretty low. We budgeted $75,000, and they ended up being $250,000.
Wow.
But here's the good one. The interest revenue, we budgeted at $92,000, just based on an assumption that perhaps the feds were going to lower the interest rates sooner than they did. They did not, so we budgeted $92,000 and we ended the year at $466,000. Additionally, you had some reimbursed expenses that came from recycling revenues, the city well monitoring, and the $51,000 for the Ford truck reimbursement. So all of that contributed to $900,000 additional to the bottom line. The expenses came in just slightly under budget. So you're still about $900,000 greater than we had anticipated. So I think that that's positive news, and that is going to help when you go into the next rate study to lessen that burden. Happy to answer any questions that you have on June.
So it appears we're better at budgeting than the state. Good to hear.
And the federal government, I'm glad of that too.
Thank you, Cindy.
Moving right along.
Okay, the July financial statements. The only thing remarkable about July, there's really very little going on in July, is that the revenues are at 12% of budget when July is 8%, and that's the way July always is. If it said 8%, I would be alarmed, because you're selling more water in July. So I need the revenues to be higher. So that's when we make more of our money in the summer. And so that's kind of the ebbs and flows of the financials. Is the beginning of the year, fiscal year, kind of you're doing much better, and then you take the hit in the winter time when, you know, it might be less than the just incremental 8%. So everything else looked just about on budget to me. Happy to answer any questions, though.
Anybody have any questions for Ms. Cindy?
You said that this is pre-audit?
Yeah, so the June is pre-audit. So for example, there's certain estimates that we have to do that don't involve cash. like the GASB 68 entries, so that's the net pension obligation, and the GASB 75, which is the OPEB. Those are required by the GASB, and they involve an expense or revenue, depending on how the PERS pension fund did for the year, but it's not cash out. What's cash out for you for your PERS and your OPEB is what you actually pay, your pay-go. So this is more of a pay-go, June. So when you get the audit, you're gonna have the audit adjustments in there. They're gonna have these non-cash things in there. Like depreciation, for example, and the pension expense or pension revenue, depending on how that flows, and vice versa. Same thing with the OPEB benefits.
And when do you have the actual audit? When does that happen?
October. And generally, we bring the financials to the board in January.
Yeah, we still have to go out to bid on that. Any other questions?
No.
So with the Fed dropping their interest rates recently, I guess that really helped us in class.
It does. We're going to reach a point, though, where LAIF is going to be higher than class. They're
Really?
not yet. Yeah, they will, because what'll happen is as the feds continue to lower, LAIF is 300 days out. Class is only 60 days out.
Help balance.
Yes, so we watch that spread, and as soon as that crossover happens, everything's going into LAIF.
Good.
And class, they know it's coming. I know that people at class talked to him. I said, what are you going to do? He said, this is how we operate. We know it's coming.
Yeah.
So,
It's been a good run. Really has. All right. Thank you, Cindy. And that brings us to 6.4, general manager.
For the month, the Director Coghill and myself had the opportunity to represent 29 Palms Water District at the California Special Districts Association Annual Conference down in Indian Wells. It was a great conference, great breakout sessions, and CSDA puts on an amazing conference, so I would love us all to go and get our transparency awards, but the conference was great. District staff had the opportunity to install some pipe bollards that we talked about last month. We are not finished. I think we completed 4, and we've got more to do. We're ordering some pipe and getting that taken care of. The cost was minimal. It's going to be the cost of the pipe, and I thought it was very important, so that was a great point to bring up. Thank you, Director Leeser. So some of those bollards are already in. The district was able to complete and turn in their lead and copper sample inventory. So the inventory where we had to go to all 8,400 services, do an inventory on our side and on the customer side was turned in this month. It is due next month. We already had it brought back for some small corrections that we're working on today and resubmitting today. So, and remember, that was state mandated. That wasn't something that we were planning for until they said, you must, you shall, and we'll get this done by October of 24, and the district has completed it. We are still working on the earmark money with the city staff and Congressman Obernolte for the USGS study. So I just wanted to give Stone James, the manager, this new city manager, and city staff, the federal lobbyists and the EPA staff that we're working with, and district staff for meeting and trying to keep this money in this community. That USGS study is super important to this community as far as wastewater and protection of groundwater. So that is still moving forward. There are some little hurdles that were never talked about early on, and we're trying to get over those as we speak. So just wanted to thank that group for that. I wanted to congratulate one of our employees, Sean Berryman, younger field worker, had his baby this month. So just a new member of the 29 Palms Water District family, and congratulate him on that. And last, and certainly not but least, I want to take this time to say happy birthday to Director Woods from the staff and the directors. Today is her birthday, so working on your birthday for the community, we just want to thank you, especially on the day of your birthday. And anybody that is around, please enjoy a cupcake on the district that is in the back. to celebrate Director Woods. So happy birthday on the day today. Today is today.
Does that warrant coffee?
It's
And,
better than coffee.
and if the board has any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Questions?
No question.
Okay.
No questions?
I have one, totally off subject.
Okay.
The pickup truck,
Okay.
the one that got T-boned?
The one that got totaled.
Yes.
The 51,000, that was, that Cindy talked about. So because the new CARB compliance, anything over 8,800 GVWR, the district has to be very careful how we purchase the next vehicle. That it doesn't count for our, we have to, 50% of our vehicle fleet this year over 8,800 GVWR has to be electric, and they don't even make the vehicle yet. So we are in the process of getting quotes on the replacement vehicle for the money sitting on the totaled F-250, but making sure that it doesn't count as our first vehicle, because then the next vehicle over 8,800 GVWR would have to be electric, which they don't make, which then we would have to ask for an exemption and sit there and go through that process. So in the budget, there's $220,000 this year for new vehicles and purchases of this. We'd like to get an F-550 flat rack, so that was part of the budgeting process. And I don't want to spend our first year over 8,800 GVWR on this vehicle. So money sitting on the side for the new vehicle to get here, whether we go F-150 because it's under 8,800 GVWR, or we are giving the exemption for the replacement vehicle through CARB on the new vehicle. So we're kind of playing the game with CARB right now to see what exemptions are going to be approved, and then how we're still going to be able to buy the F-550 early on this year, early on in the fiscal year. So we're juggling a lot right now, and Mike and staff has a lot on their plate to figure out.
How old was that vehicle?
It's brand new.
It was one of our brand new vehicles.
One of the brand new trucks.
Yeah.
Is there no caveat in the law for a service life to consider we're replacing the vehicle because it's end of service life, so therefore it counts as a new vehicle purchase? Vice, it's a replacement vehicle for a vehicle that was already exempted prior to the law.
So for the next 2 years, 50% of your fleet over 8,800 GVWR has to be CARB compliant, and you have to get it approved.
But you would think, in response to what Director Leisure said, you would think there'd be a caveat in
To the
there that
service life.
We bought this vehicle with the intent of using it. It got totaled. We'd like to replace it, period.
So part of the issue we're already
Yeah,
seeing.
Vice, we're replacing a worn-out vehicle.
No, we're replacing
We're
it
replacing a
with
new
total.
vehicle
Right.
because of an accident, so
Right.
why do we have to meet the new requirements?
You still have to get the exemption because of the year that you purchased the new vehicle in, and that's what we're dealing with CARB. So right now, even submitting anything to CARB, guess what they want? They want a VIN number. How can I provide them a VIN number when I need 3 quotes? So I have to get 3 quotes on this new truck, provide a VIN number, provide pictures.
Of the new vehicle?
Of the new vehicle
Oh
that
my
doesn't
God,
exist.
why wouldn't it just say, here's the old vehicle number, look, it's new?
Knock yourself out.
Yeah, so, and also Ford right now is not making the 250 anymore, so you're waiting for 2025. So now it's time constraints as well. And when the accident occurred, you had 90 days. So we're already in the middle of this 90-day process. So this is how CARB is going to work with vehicles over 8,800 GVWR and you getting exemptions when you're trying to purchase.
So
these
can I buy a
vehicles.
new used vehicle off of eBay and get around that?
We don't buy a lot of used vehicles.
If I
so
buy
we
a
don't know.
vehicle the same year of the one that got damaged,
You would think that would suffice. You would think that would work.
because they want the VIN number, right?
Yeah.
They do want the VIN number, yes.
To tell you the year of the vehicle, problem.
Yeah, and I will tell you, we have an engineering group on board
wonder
with.
if that would get us around that.
With us helping with the CARB compliance, so it is a question we can ask.
Yeah.
But right now, any purchase that we make this year, 50% over 8,800 GVWR has to be electric. And what we're asking for, they do not make yet.
So you think there's any of those out on the lots anywhere that are unsold?
When you send out a quote, you want apples for apples, right? We're gearing the truck like this, we're setting up our trucks certain ways. And if we go start searching lots for trucks, we may be bringing back bids that aren't apples for apples. We just have to keep that
Yeah.
into, hey, this is a 250, maybe it's a single cab. So it's just those kind of things that we're up against when we do this. When we put together a truck bid, We spec out the truck and it goes to 3 different Ford dealers because our whole fleet is Ford. It's usually a pretty easy process. People that don't respond, it goes down as a no bid and we continue to go. The whole CARB compliant thing is becoming, is going to be a bigger issue in the state, but we are trying to, right now, do everything that we can to be on board with CARB as well.
It was interesting because the conference that Matt and I attended, that one of the breakout sessions was exactly what he's talking about, the EV stuff and all that. And they were their lawyers, and they didn't even know what the end game was going to be. That's crazy. It really is crazy.
It's always fun when the state doesn't know what they want to do, but
And
mandating.
comes into effect in 2035, but yet they want you to be compliant by 2027, early, 8 years, 8 years early, but you don't have to be till 8 years later. Yeah.
What's going on with vehicles and trucks is gonna be something this district has to look at. If you look at our budget, we have solar or electric vehicle charging stations. So we're talking with an engineer about bringing power in here and how do we do it and how do we be compliant. They're telling us go to service vans on our dirt roads. These trucks don't last with where we have to go.
Trucks on our roads now.
Yeah, and so the other thing that we play into effect with electric vehicles is our heat illness prevention plan. When the guys are working by themselves, we make sure that they know the heat illness prevention plan is your truck to get in and get a hold of us if you're going down on a heat injury. If those trucks are shutting off because they're idling too far, well, what are we going to do about safety? So I think that aspect is also going to be looked at through the courts. That's a safety aspect.
But the cargo quadra vans aren't covered by this requirement.
Correct, and mostly right now it's because it's a weight issue, the gross vehicle weight of the truck or the car.
And the van,
But not vans.
they won't tow what we need to tow.
Yeah, not
That's the
vans as
problem.
far as what they're saying for service. So
Wow.
it may be something we have to look at if we do keep up on, one electric vehicle, one gas vehicle over 8,800 GVWR. We may have to go to a smaller truck. The F-150 is not over the 8,800 GVWR.
Oh joy.
Yeah.
And then life goes on. Any other questions? All right. Amazing. Item 7, future agenda items and staff tasks, director's comments and reports. We already talked about the conference. Anybody have anything for item?
For future items, are we bringing back anything on the cost benefit analysis on insurance for board members?
Yeah, so the discussion, and thank you for bringing it back up. Do we want to, part of the discussion was waiting to see in the next rate study if we were going to also, put that into the rate study as well, because there was a % difference that we felt like that would be in the rate study. So the compensation, yes, we're bringing back. I guess the discussion could be even right now, do you want to see it before we do our rate study, or is it something you guys would like to see faster?
When do you do the rate study?
The rate study would start.
Probably started with next budget, so next budget probably starts in March, April. So, and then the rate study typically takes a month or two to flesh out where you can see that where the rates are going. And then maybe another month to bring it to the board, get it adopted and so on. But we would probably start it next, the rate study probably next April or May.
Is that too late?
I think that is late.
Okay. Can we do it sooner?
Yeah, you want us to bring a compensation plan back and put it into the budget as we see now? That's what we'd be asking, because kind of the conversation, the way it went with benefits, health benefits for board of directors is, did you guys want to kind of wait and see that out to see what the rate study would show? But we can bring it back and throw it into the budget and see where we're at.
I would.
Okay. Bring it back next month.
And remember, next month, we're going to be voting on moving the November and December fourth Wednesdays to the third Wednesdays of November, December due to Thanksgiving and Christmas, if I'm not
Correct. That'll be an item next board meeting.
So just set your calendars for not the fourth Wednesday, but the third Wednesday for November and December.
Correct.
Just full fuel for thought, food for thought.
Did have
That's going to happen.
one question, not related. Is it just the three of us who are running in the election, or did we get any other candidates?
Actually, we had two candidates, Director Woods and Director Arthur. Carol did not run, so we were in the process of figuring out the Board of Supervisors making a pick for the seat for the 4-year term because of how the election has already been played out. So we are on the phone with Don Rao's office. We have a representative over there that we're talking with because by December we need to sit the new board member. So at this point, the Board of Supervisors will elect, from my understanding with the Board of Electoral, that is the decision. Now it sounds like we're going to have some input on that though.
Okay, so would we put something out asking for candidates, or, okay.
They would
Okay, sure.
they would appoint. So that at this point, that's what we're waiting on, and we're waiting for.
So what's the difference between them appointing on a vacant seat due to a non-candidate and this board appointing on a vacated seat?
The timing of the election and how many days is left from the vacancy till the start of the election. That's what I got out of all
with
of it.
an empty seat in their voting rules, the county supervisors pick. Exactly what you said already, Director Woods. When we have a vacant seat during a regular term, the Board of Directors get the decision at that point. Why? I would have to really dive into it, but the Register of Voters, there are rules in the voting rights.
So does that mean a wild card could show up for that remaining term? Somebody
Well,
that's friends of the Board of Supervisors?
It's a full term.
When
It's 4 years.
we've approached the Board of Supervisors, at first they turned to us and said, you need to go back to the electoral board. And they were informed, no. The Board of Supervisors will make the selection. So Don Rao's involved, just understanding that, but they are kind of going, who do you guys have? They
Okay.
kind of want to know what direction. So we're trying to give them 3 to 4 candidates that they can reach out to and have conversation about filling the seat.
Do we have any vetting to those recommendations at all, or?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
The process is that the Board of Supervisors will make that
Okay.
decision.
Wow, fun stuff.
We can only assume they're going to ask us, do you have anybody in mind?
Yeah,
And we could give them names, and then they would do the vetting.
hopefully there are people that are interested in actually serving the community.
Well, then
My
why
only
wouldn't they
concern-
have been on the ballot?
Huh?
Then why wouldn't they have been on the ballot?
They didn't know that there was, well, how do I say this? They didn't know there was going to be a vacancy like that, and they didn't want to run against the incumbents. I don't know. I have no idea.
And after Carol did not run as the incumbent, they did open it. They opened it for a week again. They gave us an extension week. And at that point,
Just-
there was still not another candidate.
Time and opportunity, I guess.
So will there actually be Director Woods and Director Arthur's name on the ballot for a vote?
No,
Because they're,
they won't, yeah.
so you guys are
Appointed in lieu of
appointed,
election.
you're appointed again, or you'll be appointed. So there'll be no vote on the ballot for you two. Then the San Bernardino County Board of Supervisors will appoint for this seat. But there's probably going to be some input to that.
Correct. Great question, though.
It
Yeah,
just occurred to me.
yeah.
Oh, that's a fair question. Fair question.
So I drove all the way down there and dealt with the Board of Elections for a couple hours.
No, because if you didn't, the
True.
seat would have been open
True.
and they would have appointed.
Two seats.
Yeah, 2 seats. All right.
And if you filed a statement, I don't know if you did, but they would reimburse you that money as well.
No, I didn't this time around.
Yeah. But if you did, they will reimburse you for it. Randy and I did the same things. We had to go down there and deal with all that you dealt with.
I'm shocked that they appoint to a 4-year. I would imagine that, they would do like a 2-year term and then
and then have an election at the halfway point, as I had to do.
Back in 2016, when I was appointed,
It changed over. It went to the presidential election cycle, vice what it was
Two
before, which was a
versus four,
special
so
vice.
you
Yep.
can go,
Right,
you can
'cause-
have the electorate vote on a
because
candidate again.
I submitted a letter of intent, and of the other candidates that did, when they were vetted, they didn't meet the requirements of the district. So I was the only one that did. I got a 4-0 vote from the board. They appointed Cindy, swore me in. They sat me down here that night in September of 2016, the board meeting, and been here ever since. And that was to finish out the term that was vacated. And then I had to run, I believe it was December of the same year, and there was no opposition, just like you guys have no opposition, so it was another appointment for the next 4 years. That's how they did me, and because of the way that I was done, and you're right, it wasn't presidential, it is now. You look at the same situation with Carol, and you would think it would be the same thing, but it's not. So I don't, new rules, I guess. You play by the rules.
But I also believe we will not see a bill for the election, which is a good thing, because that bill comes later on after, and that could be a little messy. I know that we had to budget for
200
elections. And I believe that,
225,000.
Cindy, I believe that we got a letter back that we were not going to have to do anything, obviously, with not having other candidates on the.
225,000, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it was a really high number the year that there was, some controversy.
$225,000 to have an election. Any other questions, comments, concerns,
I
criticisms?
have a comment. I want to thank everyone for the wonderful birthday card and the well wishes. That was very nice and very much appreciated, and I'm very grateful. And I'm very excited to have a cupcake.
And coffee.
Well, I
And
will tell
coffee,
you,
but the cupcake
the
because
the employees know everybody's birthday. They started this tradition 2-3 years ago. So cards do go around, even with board of directors. That was the ladies get all the credit for organizing our birthday card
That's nice.
situation.
That's nice.
Very nice.
But I'm excited to have a cupcake
I'm
as well.
excited to have a cupcake.
Yes, me too.
So let's get to those cupcakes.
All right, motion to adjourn,
I move to adjourn this meeting.
Seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.